It's 2:53 p.m. Sunday, August 5th, more than 2 hours before the Disney dream would leave Port Canaveral. An 11-year-old girl appears startled by the 33-year-old dining room server who stalks her from around the corner. The elevator arrives, and he makes his first move, there, grabbing her breast through her clothes as she passes by. We'll speed up the video now, as for the next 43 seconds he blocks the door, preventing it from closing, corners the girl, and, look closely, he bends over, and she would soon tell Disney security, places his right hand on her breast again. Then you see her legs squirm as she resists, as the man forcibly kisses her on the mouth, then walks away as if nothing happened. At 5:02 that afternoon, the Disney dream would leave Port Canaveral as if nothing happened. The cruise line saying last week it knew then only that a girl was made to feel uncomfortable. It was not until the next day, they claim, that they realized a crime was even committed. But this video and this Disney Cruise Line security incident report obtained by Local 6 reveal that is just not true. Cruise line employees, including a security officer, saw the video, obtained a statement from the victim, and identified a suspect before the ship left port. But Disney Cruise Line did not immediately report the crime to Port Canaveral police. And that concerns Port Canaveral Police Chief Joseph Hellebrand. An 11-year-old girl says, "I'm forcibly fondled, I'm forced to kiss a guy." Would you consider that a crime?
I would.
How soon should they have reported this crime?
As soon as possible. As soon as they know a crime was occurred.
Do you consider 16 hours as soon as possible?
No.
Had you been told that this happened on that ship, what would you have done?
We would have sent an officer on board the ship. We'd have notified a detective. We would have interviewed the family, the victim, the suspect.
And the dining room server, Milton Braganza of India, could have left the ship in handcuffs, charged in Florida with lewd or lascivious molestation. The penalty, 25 years to life. But Disney Cruise Line prevented that from happening, waiting until the next day to notify authorities, including the Bahamians, who took control of the investigation because the ship is flagged in the Bahamas. The cruise line's claims it did not know of criminal allegations while in port are contradicted by its own confidential Disney security incident report. 8.5 minutes after escaping her molester, the girl, her grandmother, and a sister emerge from the same elevator and head toward guest services, where they report the incident. At 3:22, Disney security is called, and the investigation of an inappropriate sexual act begins. The victim began to cry as she tells and shows a security officer what happened. "He went like this," she said, grabbing her breast, then went like this, grabbing her breast again, and then he kissed me here and he put mouth on my mouth. By 4:48, a dining manager had reviewed the video and identified the suspect 14 minutes before the ship left port. Still, Port Canaveral police were left in the dark until the next morning. Then they made plans to meet the ship when it returned 4 days later to at least try to make a case. Was it your department's understanding that you would be able to investigate this case when the ship got back?
Yes.
But Disney Cruise Line and Bahamian authorities had other plans. There would be no arrest, no prosecution, not even a United States police report.
Personally, we would want to investigate that crime because it occurred here, regardless of whether somebody else took over that investigation.
Would you have given a ride to the airport and put him on a plane to India?
No, we would not have.
Don't play no games.
1-800-ASK-SCARY if you need help.
Yes, we get it. Car crash, pain, attorney.
I'm worse off. I should have never called them.
After a car accident in Deltona left Jasmine Rodriguez in pain, she called 411 Pain, a lawyer referral service. She was referred to a lawyer but was sent directly to Florida Injury, a pain clinic.
I'm even more frustrated because I was misled to believe that, they were going to help me, and now I've just got myself into more debt.
She has more debt because the treatment at the clinic exhausted her $10,000 of personal injury protection in just over 2 months. Then the law firm that 401 Pain referred her to told her she had no case. No case because the other driver had no bodily injury coverage she could sue for.
They waited until I racked up almost $15,000 in chiropractic treatment.
Which left her $5,000 in the hole to foot the rest of her medical bills. We wanted to know more about the relationship between the lawyers, the clinics, and referral services. State business records reveal a very clear relationship between Robert Lewin, who runs 411 Pain, and Kimberly Russo, who runs Florida Injury, which might explain why we found the 411 Pain van parked outside Florida Injury's corporate headquarters. Do you work for these guys?
Yeah, I work for them, but I'm not allowed to talk to anybody.
Can you tell me what the relationship, though, is between this company and that company?
Nah, I'm sorry, I can.
We're watching people come in and out of this clinic and getting into the 411 Pain vehicle. Any of you getting treatment here? No one from 411 Pain or Florida Injury would talk to us, but an attorney representing Florida Injury did explain that 411 Pain sells off territories like franchises to medical clinics. So, when you call this so-called lawyer referral service, you're essentially calling a pain clinic hotline. Sure, you'll be referred to a lawyer, but you're most likely going to end up here.
Florida consumers deserve better than this.
That's Florida's Chief Financial Officer, Jeff Atwater. He's called for the Florida Bar to take action against referral services like Ask Gary and 411 Pain that don't disclose their for-profit relationships with lawyers and clinics.
Those of us responsible for getting to the bottom of insurance fraud are going to leave no stone unturned to find out anywhere the scoundrels exist. And I think you could assume that they exist every place, and we're going to find them.
Could we assume that they exist in some of the places we may have talked about today?
You can most assuredly assume they are there.
If it were your choice alone, there'd be a ban on this stuff.
I think it should be banned.
Jasmine Rodriguez could not agree more.
They are completely misleading on everything.
You're sure of that?
Positive. I'm proof of that. It's a lie. It's a lie.
They seem to come out of nowhere.
Oh, 95. It's a cop! It's a cop!
Speeding police cars, headed, you may assume, to protect and serve, but not so fast. Using E-Pass toll records, we calculated police vehicles traveled 90-plus miles an hour 198 times in July, 100-plus miles an hour 26 times. And dispatch records for the fastest and most frequent speeders revealed almost all of the super speeders were not on police business. 30 law enforcers hit 90-plus miles an hour 77 times in July when they were not working or responding to calls. This news did not go over well at traffic court.
To me, I just feel like they just do whatever they want to do.
Where those without a badge are held responsible for their speeding.
To me, if they're doing 100 on a 70, that's way worse than what we're doing.
This young man was going 54 in a 45.
They think they're police and they can do whatever they want.
Also not pleased, Orlando's police chief.
No excuses. I'm not going to sit here and make any excuses. And it is very concerning because we are not above the law.
Yet we found about a dozen OPD officers hitting 90, 100, even 115 miles an hour 37 times in July, not responding to calls.
The specific ones I'm very concerned about is officers going to and from work.
Female members of Lake Mary High School.
It was as simple as entering a high school and a graduation date, and a whole host of 15, even 14-year-old girls were at our fingertips. Some gave us information on where they worked. Others posted scantily clad photos. One girl even checked in at her bed.
I open any of those profiles, there's a very good chance, depending on how savvy I am, I could tell you where they're at within the next couple hours.
Jeff Duncan is the head of cyber safety for Orlando's Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The agency has to stay 2 steps ahead of all the new social networking tools and the criminals that use them.
Facebook graph, does it look dangerous to you?
It is so easy for anybody to locate anything of their preference.
Facebook's privacy team agreed to a phone call to discuss some of our findings with Graph Search.
So would you agree that you can find people's information much easier now?
We think that there's a lot of social value in that, but the key feature of Graph Search is its privacy protective nature.
According to Facebook, minors on Facebook have additional protection. No one can find them on Graph Search unless that person shares a mutual friend with the child.
If they're telling us their right age and they hadn't changed any of their privacy settings, You would only be eligible to see stuff if you were a friend of their friend.
But we had no mutual friends with hundreds of local teenagers we were able to easily locate on Facebook, or the friends of these girls who were visiting from Pennsylvania.
I know that girl. I know all of them.
You know all those girls?
Yeah. She's my age. She's my age. I think she's my age.
The reason they were so easy to locate,
we told them not to put in all of their exact information. We didn't want them to be totally honest on there.
meaning 15-year-old Julia actually uses the birth date of an 18-year-old for Facebook.
Mom, did you realize that if she's 18 on Facebook, that other people have access to that information?
No. I did not know that, honestly.
But it's not just minors who have to be concerned. Using Facebook graph search, I typed in the name of the restaurant where we were having lunch. In less than a minute, I located the profile, pictures, and information of the woman who appeared to be our hostess.
Hi. Are you Nona?
Yes.
Ah, I found you on Facebook. This new graph search allows people to look by characteristics.
Oh, okay.
So if they don't know your name, they could still say women who work at Bosphorus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
After seeing how easy it was for a complete stranger to view her profile, Nona's thinking about limiting how much she shares. And FDLE says everyone needs to be in control of their privacy before graph search is available to everyone else.
You have to be concerned as a parent to put the right safety precautions on that tool, or else you're going to put several million of people in the palm of your child's hand.
What we did was look for address matches between two sets of data. In one, addresses for 300,000 felons, and in the other, addresses for thousands of daycare homes. Now remember, the law bars convicted felons from living in daycare homes, but much to the state's surprise, we found plenty. Our surveillance cameras rolled as child after child was picked up or dropped off from homes where convicted felons have reported living, daycare homes like this one in Osceola County. The Department of Children and Families claims it screens those who live inside, but it missed Victor Ortiz. We were wondering why DCF is unaware that you live at a family daycare home. Not only lives here, but is visited here by his probation officer. Ortiz, it turns out, witnessed this associate murder an 18-year-old in 1991. The next year, they robbed the victim's grandmother, claiming the money would go to the then missing victim, who was, of course, dead.
Sir, this was 20 years ago when I was a kid. I was 18 years old.
But in 2008, he pled guilty to the robbery, which under Florida law means he cannot live in a daycare home. Yet DCF had no idea he did. Is that the kind of person who should be in that home?
Oh, I don't think that's the person anybody wants in a daycare home.
So how can a parent be confident there aren't felons in their daycare home?
The screening that we conduct is going to be as good as the information that is given to us.
Given to you by a relative of a felon?
Given to us by the owner or the operator of the individual who has that registered home.
Like the mother of Jason Casado, a convicted robber visited 7 times at his mother's Apopka daycare home by his probation officer. Does DCF allow him to stay here?
He's not living here.
But he has been here during the time you've been at daycare.
Oh, he visits me sometimes.
Well, he's visited by his probation officer here. We showed the proof to DCF.
But Tony, there's no way for us to know this unless we're given a name of an individual to search for.
Or if they did what we did, use a computer database to compare addresses of felons and daycare homes. That's how we found Victor Williams, convicted robber, living at what was his grandmother's Daytona Beach daycare home, his probation officer noting several toddlers there as well. His grandmother told us the toddlers must have been her grandchildren because she said she did not care for children when Williams lived there. We heard a similar explanation from the mother of Isaac Johnson III, convicted burglar. Is Isaac here now?
He don't live here.
But he has lived here during the time you were at daycare, according to the DOC records. And we're wondering...
He does not live here. He does not live here.
Not now. He's in jail. But his probation officer verified he lived at the daycare, once noting him at home with some daycare children. As for Ortiz, one-time fugitive, convicted robber, and witness to murder, if DCF knew you lived here, this couldn't be a daycare, I don't think. Do you know that?
I don't think that issue has anything to do with children, you know.
After 3 kids and a rough pregnancy, Nikki Morris was done having children.
I got you.
She opted for Essure.
So within 4 months, everything had changed.
Everything. I would throw up, I wouldn't be able to eat. I remember telling my husband every night before bed to please check on me and make sure I keep breathing. Because I would go to bed every night scared to death I wasn't going to wake up the next morning.
After a conversation with her mother, she figured out what was wrong.
And she said, Nikki, you have an allergy to nickel. You can't even have piercings.
Essure prevents pregnancy by blocking the fallopian tubes with flexible coils. Those coils contain nickel alloy.
I called the doctor and he told me there wasn't enough nickel to cause any problems.
But when she got a second opinion,
he said, you are having a negative reaction to the Essure. We need it out of you ASAP.
That doctor was Dr. Stephen McCarris, a gynecological surgeon at Florida Hospital.
The only way to get her feeling back to normal would be to remove the tubes in the uterus.
I was 25 years old. I don't think it's acceptable at all that I had a hysterectomy.
Dr. McCarris says he's had to perform several hysterectomies to remove Essure.
If you need to remove that, guess what? You have to take the organ out. You can't just remove the implant.
44-year-old mom Heather Hare had to make that decision.
My body and my mind was that of an 80-year-old. And I just thought to myself every day that, I can't imagine living another 40 years like this.
She came across an Essure Problems Facebook group and hundreds of stories that sounded just like hers. So Heather decided to have a hysterectomy rather than live with a life of pain.
The moment I woke up from surgery, all my pain was gone. My mind was clear.
Trish McFarland is another mom who opted for Essure. She says for 4 years she had pain and a brain fog. The coils are still inside of her.
But do you worry that this might be poisoning you?
I do worry that it's going to be causing some more damage.
And in the device information provided to doctors, it spells it out. Patients who are allergic to nickel may have an allergic reaction to this device. But after 2011, the FDA removed nickel as one of the risk factors. Makers Conceptus, Inc. even issued a press release stating we will be aggressively marketing this change to the OB/GYN community.
Were any of you asked if you had an allergy to nickel?
I was not asked.
No.
Well, I don't think anyone in their right mind would go and say, there's a really good chance you're going to have a full hysterectomy at the end of this procedure, maybe in about 2.5 years. I don't think there's anyone in their right minds who's going to say, sure, sign me up for that.
You're watching an accident that's not an accident. The National Insurance Crime Bureau calls it a staged accident.
Stage accidents involving 2 carloads full of people that'll tap each other at low speed and are occurring like wildfire.
A staged accident is a crime. It starts with a ringleader who recruits an organizer who recruits passengers and drivers.
They're offered money, like a couple of $100 to stage an accident. It's real big here in Orlando area.
Lieutenant Drew Cameron, an insurance fraud investigator for the state, says the big money generally goes to medical clinics that take personal injury protection or PIP claims.
They're the ones who are behind the scheme.
Our research shows that stage accidents locally have been organized by nurses, chiropractors, and other medical professionals.
It's like an organized crime.
Ms. Horn, why won't you talk to us? Why won't you talk to us? We've been trying to get a statement from a woman whose name is linked to 2 clinics, including Excelsior Health, flagged in staged accident investigations. Authorities say this man, Chesnell Raphael, was Excelsior's ringleader and that his scheme allowed Excelsior to bill at least one insurance company thousands of dollars in bogus claims. Why can't you tell us what you knew and what you knew when? Raphael is also wanted for allegedly staging at least 8 accidents for a clinic he owned himself. We went to his last known address.
Can you tell me where we can find Chesnell?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
In fact, this woman says she owns the house, not Raphael.
That's Onette Esteven's house.
So you're Onette Estiver?
Yes.
What a coincidence. Our research shows that she was named as a passenger in a staged accident scheme that led to insurance payouts at Excelsior.
No, I don't know nothing.
How does your name appear?
How do I know?
Well, I'm telling you, it's right here. This is the charging affidavit.
No!
When Ms. Esteverni tells us that she has no idea what we're talking about, you think she's lying?
Probably.
Get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here, I said! Get out of here!
Okay. I'm trying to give you the information you
I don't
asked
need any
for.
information from you guys.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Are you going to attack?
That's my house. Get out of here, I said.
Now authorities are warning that you could be the next victim as ringleaders are trying to make money without willing participants. They're now causing accidents with innocent drivers and still filing false claims.
It could be your car.
It could be.
It could be my car. It could be anybody's car. If they feel that they can go out and hit you so that they can go to these clinics, that's what they do.
If that doesn't convince you, check your insurance bill. Every time your premium goes up, particularly for personal injury protection, insurance industry experts say staged accidents are largely to blame. Stephen Cooper, Local 6.
We were having a really good day, really good time.
Driving home on Labor Day 2008.
Just doing normal family things.
With son Jacob, nearly 3, in the seat behind her. When less than a mile from home at Narcoossee Road and US 192, Mike Mulligan and his pickup truck ran the light.
He smashed into us. I immediately looked up in my rearview mirror to look up at my kids.
Her daughter was okay. Jacob was not.
I knew right there then that he had been killed.
Killed by Michael Mulligan, a habitual drunk driver with 4 prior DUIs, 2 of them just months earlier. Yet he was out on bond and allowed to legally drive because police in Broward County did not show up at a hearing where his license could have been suspended. Jacob's grandmother pled with politicians to toughen laws to keep people like Mulligan off the roads, but to no avail.
This man can go out and have accident after accident and absolutely nothing happens to him. They don't take his license.
It happened more than 2,000 times last year. Licenses reinstated after arresting officers failed to show up at DUI suspects' driver's license hearings. A Titusville police officer failed to appear 22 times, the most in Central Florida.
We were very surprised to see that number of misses by one of our officers.
Former officer, that is.
This officer had some performance issues and resigned in lieu of termination.
After Local 6 revealed Titusville's lapses, the department issued a new directive this week to keep better tabs on officers missing hearings.
We're going to ensure that we have a system in place that tracks every single hearing individually so that we can go back and track exactly, if an officer doesn't show up, we can track why they weren't there and whether it was excused or not.
All that too late for Jacob's family, who returned to the crash scene last month for what would have been Jacob's 5th birthday.
We go back there because, for me, it's the last place I saw him alive. He loved balloons. And it just, we do it for him. Hoping that he sees how much we miss him and still love him.
Mulligan is now serving 11 years for DUI manslaughter for Jacob's death and another 3.5 for the Broward DUIs. Little solace for Jacob's family, who feels Mulligan was given a license to kill. Meanwhile, the state this summer told its hearing officers they do not always have to reinstate licenses the first time an officer doesn't show up for a hearing, but officers are still required to attend if subpoenaed. Tony Pipitone, Local 6.